Welcome back to another episode of the podcast, From the Depths of Darkness to the Light of Success. I am your host, Chris Swick, and on this podcast, we talk about addictions, recovery, mental health, spirituality, anything anyone's afraid to talk about, really, at the end of the day. Let's end the stigma around all these things and, make people afraid to not talk about them. Everyone's story is valuable. Does not matter what walk of life you come from. You're all welcome on the show. You can find the show over on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and all video episodes are up on YouTube or going up on YouTube now. So head over to YouTube and hit that subscribe button and the notification button to get updates when every new episode comes. With no further ado, I'd love to introduce you my next guest. He's a former guest who has been on already, back like episode 20 or 21, I can't remember.
24.
It's 24. There we go. Man speaks. But we got Justin Hamilton back on the show. You want to take it away and let them know a little bit about you for the ones that don't know you?
Hey, Justin Hamilton here, rap hip-hop artist, with a Christian faith, lifelong addict, and still in recovery, will be in recovery, and representing for the Tri-Cities, and my community, Country Hills here, and for the nation of Canada as well.
And let's talk about that. You've been like a hip-hop artist for many years and stuff like that. We got into that on that other episode. But you got a new sort of form now. You're doing Christian hip-hop and stuff like that.
Yes.
And recently you just did a show, and you have a new album out that came out earlier this year.
Yep.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, a long time in the making. I was born and raised Christian, but I definitely had my moments where I doubted, I rebelled, I was angry. That had to do with just childhood trauma and stuff. But as I aged and got older, I actually started realizing that my talent wasn't being used for what it should have been used for. And I got to a certain point when I entered rehab for the first time in 2013. I just turned it off, anything to do with music. But 7 years later, it didn't leave me alone. And I said, all right, I think this is the way that I'm supposed to be doing it. I accepted Jesus Christ on my own. I found God for myself. It wasn't anybody pushing me or drilling me or anything. It was just me saying, I'm going to choose you. And I'm starting to see the results of that. So with this album here, it was like my coming out party and learning how to rewrite music again without glorifying the things that I would have glorified before. It's cool to do drugs and sell drugs and to be arrested constantly in and out of jail. Like, I think the thing is, a lot of the hip-hop culture can feed off in a sense of this is what it is or what it's cool, and not the case for me. So this album here, I'm really proud of it, actually. I let it sit dormant just because of the pandemic, right? Everything's going on, everything's closed. How do you book a show? How do you do this when you only have 5 people in your home? Excuse me. Yeah, and we finally got into the position to do the show at my church, and it was a success. And I'm looking at my social media and comparing it to when I used to perform and rap at certain places in a certain way. The buzz was gone the second I was off the stage or the day after the after party. But here we are Wednesday, and people are still sending me messages or texts or commenting on something that happened on Saturday. So it's a good feeling.
And you got to share the stage, a special moment too, with your daughter. She helped you sing one of your songs, man. Like, how cool was that feeling?
I'm still there. I'll try and explain it without crying, but her birth really saved my life, man. And I had my moments after the fact of her being here, but as she grows and develops, and her mother and I have a great relationship, we're best of friends. We've moved on from each other, but we have a job to do and raise our daughter. And my daughter's been showing a lot of interest in singing and music. And as the show was coming together, I had it laid on my heart to give your little girl a shot to join you. I just didn't understand what was going to happen on the stage, but it's just as amazing as birth, to be honest, that moment.
And what was it? Why that song that you chose in particular for the two of you to perform? Was that the one she was practicing?
When she listens to my album, because of there's no cussing or any of that, but there's the reference to drugs and stuff. So her mother and I filtered what she listened to, and that was one of the songs that was rather safer. I just didn't realize she would actually listen to it to the point where she knew off by heart. So when I asked her, I said, "You want to join Daddy on stage at his show Saturday?" She's, "Yeah, can we do all of the lights?" I was like, done. Yeah.
Nice. That's amazing, man. And that just fills your heart like with joy and happiness to see tenfold what's happening now when you give your faith. Not everyone believes in Jesus, and that's
Yeah.
okay. Not everyone's going to, but when you hand your faith over like you have, things start to come tenfold back to you. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it's the beautiful gifts of recovery too.
Yes, absolutely. 100% agreement. She's a gift recovery. My support circle's a gift recovery. I actually didn't know how many people turned up for the show. I was backstage because I said, listen, I'm going to do it the way an artist would do it. You're not seen until you get on stage. And when I came out on stage, I was like, oh, there's a lot more here than I expected. I felt the butterflies, but you know what? It was after getting off the stage, the amount of people that wanted a hug, wanted to talk to me, wanted to congratulate me, purchase t-shirts, made a donation. And, it's nice that you can see funds going into a box or for whatever, and you're not like calculating how much you can go get. And that, to me, that was in my walk of recovery. That was one of the things that really helped me identify where I am in sobriety, because I was like, okay, like what can God do with this money now that these people gave? And the people that showed up was another gift of recovery. Having the support of my dad being in the audience is another gift of recovery. Yeah, I'm
You
really,
talked about it too at that show. Like I watched some of the video online there.
yeah,
That was your first show that you didn't show up to high, drunk, whatever.
yeah,
That's another amazing feat. That's another, piece of history, as you were saying in that video and
yeah.
stuff like that too. You didn't have to be high or drunk. I love not being high or drunk today, man. I
I love it.
enjoy every bit of it. I can remember the next day, but all in all, I can be present in those moments where I wasn't able
Yes.
to be present mentally. Physically, I was present, yes, but mentally, I was checked out a long time ago. And,
Yeah,
it's just nice to be, mentally there all the time now.
yeah. And I absorbed that feeling because earlier in the day before the show, I actually struggled to even smoke. That's how adamant I was on being like completely just nothing in my system today. If I'm gonna step on the stage for the Lord, then I gotta step on the stage. But I think I had 1.5 cigarettes that entire day. And that was just like a huge motivator for me to know that it's possible. Cause addiction, like cigarettes are the hardest one, let's be honest, man. And I don't enjoy smoking, but there's that control still. So I'm working on that one right now. But I love that you said that you're there and you remember the next day and you wake up happy and stuff, because like similar to myself, we know what it's like to be in a club, but we're not there. You know what it's like to be at a family function, but we're not there. We're counting down to when is this done or when can I go do my next thing or whatever. And not having that is a beautiful feeling.
Yeah, I don't have to worry about if I have money to do whatever for the kids today. I don't can't do this, I can't do that. It just I don't have to worry about any of that crap today, man.
Yeah.
So do you tend to fear change or embrace it today, Justin?
Whew. I embrace it. I embrace it if it's on my own doing. My anger was one of the things that was getting in the way of my relationship with people and my children. And learning how to bite my tongue, learning how not to get flustered and throw my hands up or raise my voice. That was hard for me. And when I started noticing that I could be out somewhere and something would, disturb me or disrupt me, like I almost became mute. Like I couldn't respond, I couldn't confront somebody, I couldn't defend myself. And that's the part that I started to fear with the change in my anger. With things that are out of my control, I still embrace it, but I remember this one golden rule is like I'm in control of how I react to what I'm not in control. Let's take COVID, for example. Like when you're being told you can't have this many people in your home or you're limited to this, limited to that. It's okay, how do we adapt to this and go with it? Whereas some people, they go and they make their statuses or they're raging outside somewhere, and yeah, it sucks, but you gotta be in control of that. I think the other dynamic that to answer this question is there is a general fear that comes across leaving a certain part of me behind. And it's because I became comfortable with that person. I became comfortable with, hey, I messed up. Hey, I did this, but I actually wasn't letting go completely. There were some things I was holding on to protect myself. And when I actually embrace that I can do this and not be afraid anymore, then let's do it.
I love that you say that too. Like you are in control of your own actions and reactions.
Yes,
It rings true. Like I hear it all the time, but let's say it again and again because if you're not in control of your actions or reactions, stuff's gonna get bad real quick. Like with your anger, especially, man. I have to as well bite my tongue. I still have little outbursts here and there,
yeah,
and it comes back to bite you in the ass, man, because you weren't in control at that point in time when you could have been
exactly,
in control. You gotta check yourself at the door before you come in some nights.
exactly.
You know, check that anger out at the door, man. Leave it right at the door, even if you're having a bad day, but you don't go home and bring it out on everyone else just because you're
Yeah,
having a bad day and bring everyone else down with you. That's not the way it is, man. Like,
no,
I've been taught just leave it at the door. Take a deep breath before you walk through the door and just embrace what's gonna happen. Having humility and being humble is huge, you know, and I'm learning
two,
that today.
two, two key words of my diet every day, man. Even and on top of that, there's the mental health aspect where, for example, like when things are so routine and you've got like severe anxiety, that one glitch that's out of the routine, I found was a very big struggle for me because it affected my mood impulsively, like right away. Like when my keys are always here. Where are my keys? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it starts trickling in to the point where your kids are, oh no, should I even go put my shoes on? Because my sister said it best. It's sometimes you don't realize that you're making little adjustments because of like my father with his anger and then with me. And I had to get a grip on it and realize that it's not actually the fact that I can't find the keys. It's the anxiety that's putting it under a microscope, blowing it up to can't find the keys, can't start the car, can't get the kids to school, can't do this, can't. And that domino effect is taking place in 10 seconds.
Yeah, maybe like where we should, and I love to use the key analogy because it's happened to me really recently. But instead of getting angry at your partner or someone else for that, why don't you take it a second to breathe, as I was told,
Yes.
and retrace your steps where you had those keys last. Look around, not just throw a big fit and throw your arms in the air and I can't find them. Well, you even looked for them yet?
No,
And then it just trickles and trickles, like you said.
and you tap your pockets 50 times and they weren't there the first time.
If you could go back in time, Justin, and give your parents advice before you were born, what would that advice be?
Do your best to get him into sports. A lot of things, Chris, in my life changed when I started realizing the dynamics of pay to play. And I was really good at hockey. I could skate. I was really good at baseball. I was really good at basketball. I was really good at football. And I wanted to play baseball. My parents, just no money for this, just no money for that, just no money for this, no money for that. And I've grown up as a parent myself now, and I love and I appreciate them. But I look at some of what happened because I had that free time. Like when the kids were like, "Oh, I can't do this tonight. I got or baseball practice," or "I can't do this tonight because I've got hockey practice," or what have you. I was the one that had all that free time to go roam and find trouble. And yeah, the other thing is just trust his decision making because there was a lot of times where because of being raised Christian that I wasn't allowed to go to certain houses or I wasn't allowed to sleep over at certain friends' places. And when you're that kid that's at a birthday party, you're the only one that's going home because it's Saturday night, right? You always have this humiliation grow over you or this embarrassment that grows over you. And it caused me a lot of anger towards my parents. It was like, why don't you just trust that I'm going to go there, enjoy the birthday party, sleep over, wake up, and come back home? But I didn't see what my dad was seeing. It was like the atmosphere. Now, as adults, we can do the same thing with our kids. I'm not really comfortable you hanging out with that guy because you've seen some things that your child may not have seen. So, as
100%.
yeah,
Like, we're as adults today, your kids are gonna grow up and see what you're doing or what you've done and emulate that. So we have to instill that positive,
yeah,
energy in them and not be negative all the time because it will overflow into their lives and how they treat their partners or how they do this. How you treat your partner, how you treat others is
yep.
how they're gonna think it's okay to treat others too.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Um, it's like a monkey see, monkey do game. I got a good question for you today, though, man. Is Tupac alive and well? And will he ever come back?
I've never actually believed he was dead.
I'm with you there, man.
But
There's so many like
to
different stories.
answer that question, For him to come back, that would be hard because he could get charged. I believe you can be charged for faking it, but I've never actually believed that he was dead. It's just, especially with the platform of YouTube, where you can get a lot of videos that start breaking things down and dissecting things and revealing and exposing things. I've watched a lot of those and I've said, okay, this is what I've been feeling, but thank you for putting a video together for me to watch to confirm that I'm feeling right. I don't think he would come back. I think he is enjoying his life somewhere, but
100%. Like, who knows if it's down in a Caribbean island? Who knows if it's over in Africa, Asia,
yeah,
somewhere? It just it all points to different things too. Like you said, I found crazy videos and all these conspiracy theories, but
yeah,
I really don't think he's dead either.
no, I don't.
But he was one of the greatest of all time, I feel, man.
Yes.
Not maybe not the greatest, but one of the greatest, man. Like that guy could tell a story. He was a poet. He could do it all, man.
He was very, he had his delivery was very from the gut. Like Nas is a great artist too. Nas just has this like almost like a nasally. Jay-Z is another great artist, but he's kind of got like a distinct voice. Like for me, like when I listen to Pac, it's like he can go from a Dear Mama to Ambitions as a Rider, or he can go from Changes to California Love. And he delivered that raw from the gut rap. As a fan, that's what I've always admired about him.
Yeah, it was just like you could it's all you were almost in that story or in that
Yes.
song with him. He takes you through this like wherever long the song is, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever, but you're like there with him going along the path of whatever journey he was on in that song. It's amazing, man. And one of my all-time favorite songs, you hit it there, was Dear Mama. I just even
Yeah.
though I didn't live that, but he's telling you from his gut, from his heart, this is how life was for me. You know what I mean? There's no BS here. This is the way it was. He wasn't making that up.
Absolutely. And of course, there was all he reshaped the industry with like with rap, with like his, I guess you could call it like a hip hop political statement he was making with the thug life and in the news, getting shot, getting robbed. Like it is the ghetto, even though he was successful. You got millions of dollars, but like you're in handcuffs being arrested, or
He was like the Allen Iverson of hip hop.
yeah. Yeah, I just watched that documentary I started watching that documentary the other day called Iverson.
Yeah.
I was showing it to my friend and I was telling her like he's the guy that like reshaped the NBA, and the reason why the dress code and the players that got to wear these bands up their down their arm because of the tattoos, and he's showing up with like half braided hair, half afro, just and his attitude in the press conference. I still love the fact that he was able to spit in the face of that political machine, where he was like, I don't want to be Michael Jordan. I don't want to be Magic Johnson. I don't want to be Larry Bird. I want to be me. And but his best friend was murdered, and they were all harassing him about being late for practice or missing practice or something. And he's sitting there, you guys are all up here and you want to talk to me about practice. Like, my best friend is dead. We won the game tonight, but you want to talk to me about practice. They didn't like that. They thought that he was thug attitude. And when I go back and I watch that interview, it makes sense. You want to talk to a professional NBA player about practice, and he's dealing with a friend from his like lifelong friend from where he grew up in Virginia, murdered, like dead. I like when people have that impact, when they can reshape the dynamic of something that's been a machine running this way for so long.
100%, man.
Same with Colin Kaepernick did that too.
Yeah, that's another great standpoint, you know what I mean? If you take a stand and don't back down, people don't like that.
Exactly.
But you gotta stand for what you feel is right at the end of the day.
Speaking of the whole Irish thing, have you watched that Alice at the Palace? It's on Netflix. It's the story of the Detroit Pistons versus the Indiana Pacers game,
Okay.
where Ron Artest went into the crowd after someone threw beer on him, and
I know what you're talking
it
about.
just started this whole rumble. But I think people forget that at a point in time like that, it's hard to just say, "Oh, it's a fan. I'm not going to go defend myself." Especially with the fact that the guy literally threw it like from like rows up, and it literally splashed Ron Artest in the face. So he into the crowd he goes, and then his teammates are following him, and Yeah, that's a good watch.
Nice. We'll have to check that out, everyone. Check out Malice at the Palace.
Yeah,
So what part of life today would you put a big warning label on, Justin?
your circle.
Why is that?
Like for me or for people in general?
For you, like for you.
For me, a warning. Oh, wait, ask the question one more time. Just
So
want to make
what part of life would you put a big warning label on?
my life. I put a big warning on my circle because you hear it through life. Yeah, you'll one day you're gonna count your friends on your one hand, and grandpa says it, your parents, whatever. But the more I went through trauma, the more I went through critical situations, I started seeing the same faces there and the same faces that were there, not there. They were there when it was good and everything's great. You go down a slope or something, and then they're not there, but these people are here. And after turning 40, I looked at who was in my life and who wasn't, and I just tightened it up. And it's because no matter what happens to me, what situation I'm in, these people are there to,
It's so true. Like you can count your friends on one hand. I can today at least.
yeah, I can.
But people, you can see who's there to show up for you, who supports you when you're at your lowest and stuff like that. And there isn't
Yeah,
many out there that show up when the times get tough.
exactly. Like I have a friend, like I grew up with her, but like she lives in Woodstock. Like she knows that I had some car issues or whatever. Like she wouldn't hesitate to lend me her car. Meanwhile, some guy I grew up with for 28 years, it's like that to me, that was just one of those things that opened my eyes. She would drive here from Woodstock to watch my child, let me use her vehicle to go get whatever I had to get done and bring it back, even as far as driving to Pickering to pick him up. But someone that was on the block with me and fist fights and all sorts of stuff and parties and this and that, you go and ask them, and they're like, "Well, I don't know, man. It's before." All right, I see what's going on here. It's your lifelong friend asking you to borrow your vehicle to go get his child, not to go get dope. But there's an issue there. So that's what I mean about the warning. I really tightened up my circle.
Yeah, you really got to sometimes. Like you can pick and, not pick and choose. You can't pick and choose who your friends are, but or they can't pick and choose you. But like you can really see at the end of the day who your tight knit circle is,
Yeah,
who's going to be there for you when, like I said, the times get tougher. If your mental health isn't the greatest and you just need someone to listen to you vent and stuff like that. Those are the people that you want in your life that'll just sit there and listen to you. Or, hey, can we go grab a coffee or play some pool Saturday night? You know what I mean? I just want some one-on-one time with you or whatever.
yeah,
I mean, I just want to chat about some things. And you can always be there. Sometimes maybe, okay, we can't do it this day, but yes, I can do it that day. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Not always saying, oh no.
yeah. And communication. I'm very adamant on communicating with people as best as I can because I know what it's like to be someone that will check in with you, say, "Hey, how's your day going?" Blah blah. And, like a day and a half, it's just, "Hey, sorry, just getting to this." Well, you're on your phone way too much to miss that. You know what I mean?
I totally get it. I have
And
people.
it's just, and then it's for me. It's if I see a text come in and I know I'm occupied, I know that my brain says, if you open that text, you're gonna lose focus on this. But make sure that you make a mental note that someone texted you, finish this, go back and immediately respond. And I realize that's another thing that helps my relationships. It's not being afraid to say what's on my mind or being smart enough to know that what I could say will be detrimental to you, but I'm gonna layman it down, but I'll still say the same truth. I just be calling someone a bitch and just you're just being really snotty right now. It's that's one of the ways.
Yeah, and it's nice to be checked in on, and I feel that too. Like I like to try and check in with a couple people a day, just even a simple, "Hey, how are you doing? Are you
Yeah,
doing well? I haven't talked to you in a while. How's life going?" It's nice to get those messages in return as
it's
well sometimes, and just a little simple, "Hey, how's it going today?" is all you need to do to uplift someone's day. It's important to reach out, everyone.
it is. And I tell people all the time, like some of my music that's on my album now and that's coming out, I really spent some time emphasizing on the importance of everybody wants to support mental health and support whatever they can and say, I donated to this place. Everybody does until crazy. And that's when people really are like, oh, well, I can't deal with this. And I can't tell you how many times things in my life didn't go as bad as they could have because somebody decided to say, listen, I'm just going to come by and see you. or hey man, like you're on my mind, like what's going on? Or when people know certain things about you, but they don't treat you differently when they hear it or they find out. Because at the end of the day, we all have a soul, man, and we all have an inner child, and it can be affected by words and actions. And I'm very much about answering the phone and having a conversation if I know the person's going to be going on about the same thing. And then there's also times where I'm just like, I'm able to tell someone, listen, you've been complaining about this for 3 years. What are you doing to change it? And they don't like you because you're the one that's not the yes man crew. I had a friend that had a situation that the other night. She reached out to me for prayer, and I'm not a problem. And then the next day she had to make this drive up north. And I was like, well, you driving by yourself? She said, yeah. And I said, all right, I'll keep you company. She said, oh, it's fine. I was like, no, based on what you're dealing with, you're driving 4.5 hours with just your mind in the road. It can be detrimental. And I just offer that. And you can see just from that person how much appreciative they are. And it changes their whole mood. Like they're smiling based on what this particular person was dealing with. They shouldn't have been in a happy, joyful mode, but they have someone there that was genuinely there for comfort, and that can help people with mental health and addictions across the board so much. So for anyone that's listening, if you're connected to someone that's dealing with that or anything, like I would strongly suggest try your best to put aside the judgmental or the they did this to me attitude and still extend your arms. I made a status about it the other day and it got a lot of attention where like forgiveness isn't earned, trust is. If someone wrongs you, just forgive them. Get that deed done. You can walk away feeling better, but you don't have to go back and be their best friend the next day. They've got to earn back your trust, but they should already have your forgiveness because let's be honest, as hard as it is, it's one thing that you can do without the penalty of having to trust them again.
100%. And you can forgive and keep forgiving and forgiving, but you know what I mean? You don't have to trust that person again or whatever. They
Yeah,
have to earn it back themselves. It's not just, hey,
exactly.
boom, you got my trust again because you did
Exactly.
X or Y or Z. I like that you say it. Very well put, man.
Yeah.
Name your alter ego.
Tri-Cities boss.
You don't go by that no more, though.
I throw it out there. I throw it out there just because of it ties into the mob. It ties into that crime life. He's a capo or he's a boss or he's a wise guy, whatever. But it's kind of like the hand in hand of hip hop, crime, mob, alter ego. Where it's here, you get your on, you can't reach on the boss when it comes to rap because nobody can take me out. I'm untouchable. So that's my alter ego.
That's a big stamp there, man.
Yeah, man. I've been yelling it for 20 years, so until I've been dethroned.
Hey, gotta do what you gotta do, man. The Tri-City boss here, everyone in the house.
Yeah.
Before we go, Justin, where can everyone find you on Instagram, Spotify? You're under Justin Hamilton on most of them.
Yeah, all digital music music stores. You would simply search Justin Hamilton. YouTube is Justin Hamilton Music. And then Facebook, yeah. Facebook is it's God's Music Now. And Instagram is at Tri-Cities Boss.
Nice, man. Thank you again for coming on the show today, dude. I
Yeah,
really
thank you for
appreciate it.
having me.
No problem, man. And what's that new album again that come out? And then you got some other shows and stuff coming up.
Yeah, we're going to Ottawa. Um, I'll be on the Nicky Clark show next week, actually, next Tuesday. It's a television show in Toronto. Ottawa in December. And the album that's out now is it's called Justin Hamilton Story Volume 1, Born Again.
Nice. Well, everyone go
Uh,
check that out over on Spotify, Apple, wherever you can find your music.
yeah, please do. I appreciate the support. It's actually the most successful thing I've put out.
Nice, man. That's amazing to see the success and the comeback story and all that, dude. So I
Yeah.
appreciate you again, man, for coming on the show.
Thanks, Chris.
No problem, man. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, you too, brother.